Hello, this is Dennis with A1 Telephone Service and Repair, A1 Electronics. You can reach us on the web at www.a1-telephone.com. You can also reach us at 618-235-6959. Today I want to show you Dennis's telephone from California. This is an AT&T 210, and this is some of the last good equipment that was produced. And basically, Dennis has complained about, I believe it doesn't dial out very well, and also I'm getting a lot of static on the telephone. And so basically we have it apart. And I want to show you something on the number plate. This is the initial checkout. If you can see, I don't know if the video is picking it up, but there's been a spill in this telephone, and you might be able to see that. I want to see if the video is picking that up, and you'll see a spill in here. And so basically I have it all apart, and we're going to kind of go through it here a little bit and pull the cover off. And I want to show you these keypads. And if you've never taken a keypad, you can see the spill inside this keypad here. It's taken on some type of a liquid, and could be anything: soda, coffee, orange juice. You never know, but it is sticky. And so right away, what I want to do first of all here, though, is I want to do some touch-ups on some soldering, and I want to get that out of the way real quick, and then I'm going to clean my soldering gun. Then we're going to kind of go into that keypad. If you've never cleaned one of these keypads, basically what you want to do is, I want to pull something over here so I can see better. And I want to get these solder points here real quick. Now I'm going to do some other touch-ups too, but I'm going to get this in here real quick. Now, it's been my experience that we're going to go on to the volume control switch also. I want to make sure that this is soldered up the way I want it. I want to touch that up one more time. And I want to get over here and get into this volume control switch. I want to make sure that's soldered up real well. Now, I've already cleaned the switch with a cleaner, and now I want to touch up the solder points around it. And this is why you want solder wick around, in case you have anything that overlaps. It can happen. And get this cleaned up and soldered up. And then we'll get onto the keypad here real quick. And I'm finding some bad solder here, so I want to touch up any bad solder that I see. That component wasn't hardly even soldered in at all. And I'll do a final check on that solder as I move along on the telephone. Now, basically what happens here is This is in these 210s. The only real fallback on them, the keypad here is drawn onto a conductive piece of the piece of plastic has conductive material drawn on it to create the traces for our numbers here. And if you've never cleaned, and this is going to be hard to pull, well, I already took it apart a little bit, but it's going to be hard to pull apart just for the simple fact that it has a spill in it. And I also want to do this. I'm going to go ahead and pull our keypad from the telephone, and I want to start disassembling. And the problem here is it's very sticky, and because it's had a spill in it that's been in there for quite some time. And all this is going to be cleaned up, but that's very sticky. You can see how dirty it is, and that's just what happens. You know, things get spilt in, and so then here we have another piece of copper on the keypad, and that's pretty dirty. And so we'll try to clean that up. Now this copper is going to stay green probably even when we clean it up, but at least it won't be so sticky. And then we're going to take our keypad off, and then if you can see this, if it's picking it up, basically what's happened here is the keypad has taken on some liquid on the inside. Now if you've never cleaned one of these, you may not want to try it. It's very difficult to clean these. There's a proper way to do it, and anything can, any kinds of material can, liquid spilt on there, or anything you're cleaning with can actually eat the conductive traces. And if that happens, you're going to be looking for another keypad, and it's going to be very hard to find because you can't just get these anywhere. And we do repair them. Even some of the conductive repair kits for the conductive material can actually, if it doesn't if it doesn't get along with the material they used, it can actually eat the trace. So when you think you're repairing it, some of the conductive materials out there that you can repair with can actually interact with this conductive material, and it can eat it and just and mess the whole thing up. So, and usually you're not going to come across these 210s with just for parts. Usually they're working, and you'd have to get one that's had a problem with it or something, because you're just not going to get these keypads anywhere. So if you just stick with us for a second, I'm going to kind of fade out here, and we'll be right back, and we're going to do some cleaning on this keypad, and we'll get right back with you. Okay, now that everything's been cleaned, you'll see that everything is looking a lot better here, and our front plate. And if you use the wrong cleaners on these, I know it looks easy, but it's not. You can actually take any of the writing off of this keypad that's on there, and you can ruin with cleaners and things this conductive material that's drawn on this plastic plate here. And any excessive bending can also ruin the traces. And you can see the keypad is actually brightened up quite a bit. And the copper will have some staining on it because of the chemical reactions of the fluids that have been spilt on it. And so really what it comes down to is, it's pretty hard to clean these and not take any of the lettering off. If you don't use the right cleaners or do it properly, you can just ruin everything, and you'll be starting all over. And if I had my best guess here, there's been a lot of different spills on this telephone. So what we want to do is we want to start reassembling everything now, and we're going to go ahead and start doing that now. I'm going to go ahead and start putting everything back together again. We're going to get all this back the way it's supposed to be. We want to slide this in properly, though. There's a way to put this back together again, and there's about 3 or 4 of the wrong ways to do it, so we want to get it right. Make sure everything's back like it should be. And then it's laying properly. Now what we want to do is we want to work, lay that down, we want to work on the keypad itself, the conductive material. We want to get this into place. So keeping everything straight is kind of a nightmare in itself. We're going to have to take a cut because we've got a shipper here, so if you can hold on one second. Okay, I'm back now, and basically what we've done is cleaned the keypad assembly, and we have our plastic board here that has our conductive material drawn on that I've already installed to the main PC board. And so what we want to do now is we want to kind of give this a quick test. So if you watch the monitor or the analyzer here, what you're going to see when I plug the telephone in is we're going to dial some numbers. And I'm going to go ahead and hit a 2, and then say a 6. Let me get the 6 here. So we'll walk through them now. And I'm going to end in a 2. So what we have here is a much cleaner board, which is a plastic board, and all your conductive material that's on that plastic board for dialing. And so, you know, it may look a little simpler than it is, but any excessive bending of this plastic board will break your conductive material, and you have to watch out what you clean it with, because you can actually erase all the conductive material that's on there and damage it. So it's not a simple process, and if it's your first time, I don't think I'd even try it unless you want to. But you know, if you ruin this plastic board with a conductive material on it, you're going to be looking for a new a plastic board for your keypad. And so here's our assembly, and it's also much cleaner now. The copper's going to have a few stains on it just from the chemical reaction of all the different things that were spilt on this. And if I had to take a good guess at it, I would say that there was many more than one spills on this whole board here. So we're going to start putting everything back together again. I'm going to go ahead and start slipping some stuff together here. And we're going to have to kind of just hold this. There's a certain way to put this frame back on, this little picture frame for your keypad, and that fits in a certain way also. So we want to keep all this together. And then I'm going to turn it over here and go ahead and disconnect the telephone at this time. We're going to swing this around here. take a second and we'll get this all back together again. Takes a little bit to get it to where we want it. Now I'm going to go ahead and spin it over. And get this into place. So there's a little more to it, and then getting everything back together again the way you want it. And then we want to put our cover back on, and that snaps into place. And then that also snaps back into the board. So we'll get that aligned. Snap that back into place. Make sure everything's riding right. Now, you're going to have a lot of different little things fall out on you. If you're not sure where they go, you need to pay attention, because when you're taking them apart, if you do, because a lot of little, you got a switch. You got a hook switch here. We want to get everything back to where it belongs. And then we can set our telephone main PC board back into its place. And then you'll have something like that, which is the way it's supposed to look. You don't want to put any screws in it, because you got to get this you want to get your little switch back in it, or your knob for your switch. You probably heard the phone make a funny noise. That's because this phone has a little battery for memory in it. Now, not all of them have that. Some of them do, some of them don't. We're kind of going to just hold this and walk through our numbers. Ending a 2. Now what we can do is we can start putting some screws back in it. Now, while we were cleaning this keypad assembly and keypad, I also did some more resoldering on some things that I didn't like on some areas. Because you're always going to find solder that you don't like, or some things that have loosened up over time. I'm not even going to go ahead and put the cover on it right now. What we're going to do is go ahead and do some final checks. Go ahead and hang it up. We'll let that ring a couple times. Okay, now if you watch the analyzer, you'll see me walk through the numbers. end in a 2, and I'm going to go ahead and transmit. And if you look right there on the analyzer, you'll see 100% modulation on transmit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hello, hello. Okay. Also want to ring that on low. Give that a couple rings. That's on low now. So everything is working now, and we know that our telephone is dialing out. And so basically, going in and repairing the keypad is a little more technical than it would normally seem because of the plastic board and the conductive material. And when you spill things on these telephones, it can get in and just literally wipe out the conductive material or keep it from, conducting properly. And there was quite a few different spills in this because the buildup on the keypad assembly and everything was pretty thick, and it took quite a bit to wash that. And if you bend that board too much or excessively, you're going to ruin it. And there's nothing that you're going to be able to do. You'd have to replace it. And you just don't find these parts floating around everywhere. There's nowhere you can call to get it. You would have to, scavenge it from another phone or something to that, nature. But it's just one of those things. If you ruin any of it, you're going to be replacing it. And sometimes you can repair it depending on how bad it is, but you even have to watch out what type of conductive repair solution that you're using. So it's just one of those things. It's a very good telephone. These AT&T 210s are some of the last good equipment out there, and they're just a great phone. Okay, so we're back again, and basically we're going to do our final checkout here on this telephone. We have our handset back together again, and the cover's been put back on. Now, you will notice a lot of times on these volume control switches for low, medium, and high, and they actually have loud, but same thing. And, there's always a little pressure on these. It's just the way it always ends up because of the cover and the way it fits. And over time, the plastic will warp a little bit. But if you work them every once in a while, they will loosen up. They can give you somewhat of a problem, but we know this switch has been cleaned. We also know from past experience that we want to resolder them. And in this earlier part of the video, we resoldered it. So we know that's all taken care of. And now that we have our handset back together again, what I want to do is I like to crimp all my cords. So, there's been a lot of use on this telephone over the years. And what we want to do is we want to make sure that we have a good connection on our handset cord. So we want to recrimp the ends, the modular plugs, and I like to give them a couple of good crimps. And then basically what we're going to do here, as soon as I plug this telephone back in, we're going to be on a regular line, because this phone won't work until the handset's plugged in. Give you some dial tone. And we're going to call, say, like a time and temp number.
Service for your car today? Call any of our service departments or make an appointment online at Offenburg.com. Today is Tuesday, December 20th. The time is 7:40. Current temperature at 54 degrees. Now the weather forecast for the Belleville area.